finally, to the great, proud people of Iran, I say tonight that the hour of your freedom is at hand. Stay sheltered. Don't leave your home. It's very dangerous outside. Bombs will be dropping everywhere. When we are finished, take over your government. It will be yours to take.
Imagine waking up and seeing this headline: Supreme Leader of Iran assassinated by the United States and Israel. Not a movie, not a thriller. This actually happened on February 28, 2026. In the next 12 hours after the headline, oil hit $100 a barrel overnight. Dubai, the city of Burj Khalifa and luxury malls, was under missile attack. 8 million Indians in the Gulf were suddenly in the crossfire, and India's Prime Minister, who had just been in Israel 48 hours earlier, said absolutely nothing. Welcome to Operation Epic Fury, the biggest geopolitical event of this decade. Today we break it down, not just what happened, but why it happened, what's Iran's real strategy is, what it means for Dubai, and most importantly, what it means for you as an Indian. So, why did this war start? One word explains everything: nuclear. So, here's what you need to know: Iran has been building nuclear capabilities for almost 20 years now. Not for electricity, experts say the goal was always a nuclear bomb. Why? Because a nuclear weapon is the ultimate insurance policy. No one bombs Korea, no one invades Russia. A bomb means you're untouchable. Countries with nuclear weapons, and notice who hasn't been invaded. Then came the nuclear deal, and it collapsed. In 2015, America, China, Russia, Europe all told Iran, stop enriching uranium beyond safe levels. We lift your sanctions. Iran agreed. This deal was called the JCPOA. Think of it simply as the nuclear deal. In 2018, Trump walked away, Iran felt cheated, and slowly, quietly, they started enriching uranium again, faster than before. By early 2026, Iran's uranium stockpile was enough for 11 nuclear bombs. Now, here's the Geneva twist that most news channels skipped entirely. By early 2026, a new round of talks was underway in Geneva. Iran's foreign minister said a deal was days away. The Omani mediator said peace was within 48 hours. But here's what was not being discussed at Geneva, and this is the detail that changes everything: the Geneva missile registration problem. The Geneva talks were focused only on Iran's uranium enrichment, but Iran had never registered or declared its ballistic missile stockpile under any international framework, not even the UN Register of Conventional Arms. These missiles, the Shahab, the Fatah, the hypersonic Fatah 2, were invisible on paper, undeclared, off the record. Israel and the US argued, what's the point of a nuclear deal if Iran keeps an unregistered missile delivery system that can carry a nuke the moment it builds one? Iran refused to include missiles in any deal, calling it a red line. Iran's nuclear deal: no bomb. Iran's unregistered missile, the delivery truck, is still parked outside. So while diplomats were finalizing a deal in Geneva, B-2 stealth bombers were being quietly loaded at Diego Garcia. Because to the Israel and US, a deal without the missiles was absolutely no deal at all. February 28, 2026, 7 a.m. Tehran time. The bombs fell. The opening strike was unlike anything the world had seen since Iraq in 2003, but it was different in one very specific way. 900 targets hit in the first 12 hours alone. Nuclear facilities, missile sites, radar systems, military command centers, all struck simultaneously. Two parallel operations: Operation Epic Fury, USA, and the Operation Roaring Lion, Israel. The most audacious move: Iran's supreme leader Ali Khamenei, who had ruled for 34 years, was assassinated in the very first wave of strikes. Trump didn't address Congress. He posted an 8-minute video on Truth Social at 2 a.m. and went to bed. But here's the part that's genuinely chilling, and no one is reporting this. This is the first war in history that has been planned, at least partly, by artificial intelligence. And here's what we need to know: Israel's military AI system, known as the Gospel, had been generating target lists in Gaza for months. For this operation, a more advanced version processed satellite data, communication intercepts, movement patterns, and generated a prioritized list of 900 plus strike targets across Iran. Human commanders approved the final calls, but the targeting intelligence was AI curated. The US used its own AI analysis tools to model Iranian retaliation scenarios, predicting with 87% accuracy which Gulf states would be hit first. AI also helped identify Khamenei's real time location, cross referencing phone signals, vehicle patterns, and facility heat signatures. This is what 21st century war looks like. Not just bombs and bullets, but algorithms deciding what gets bombed first. Then, Khamenei's death revealed a deeper crack in Iran's defense. The Mosaic defense breached. Iran had built its military around something called the Mosaic Defense Strategy, a decentralized system. The idea? If the top leadership is killed, power does not collapse. It fragments into hundreds of independent cells, like pieces of a mosaic, each capable of acting on its own. No single kill can break the whole system. That was the theory. But after Khamenei was killed, US and Israeli intelligence revealed they had already infiltrated the communication nodes of the Mosaic network. They had pre-planted digital backdoors into Iran's encrypted military channels months before the strike. So when the Mosaic activated post-assassination, the signals were being read in real time in Tel Aviv and Washington. This is why Iran's retaliation, while fierce, was more scattered and less coordinated than it should have been. Iran built a fortress designed to survive a beheading, but someone had already copied all the keys. Iran's retaliation. Within 24 hours, missiles and drones flew across the Gulf, hitting UAE, Qatar, Kuwait, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia. Every country hosting a US military base became a target. By day 5, a US submarine sank Iran's most modern warship, the Iris Dana. 44 nautical missiles off Sri Lanka, over 100 sailors still missing. First warship sunk in active combat since the Falklands War, 1982. Why was Dubai hit? Dubai, the city of skyscrapers, 5-star hotels, Formula One, and 200 nationalities. Why would Iran attack Dubai? Here are 4 very deliberate reasons. Reason 1. America's launchpad. The UAE hosts Al Dhafra Air Base, one of America's most important military bases in the Middle East. US bombers and F-35 fighters operate from there. Iran's message? If you let America fly from your soil, you are our enemy too. Reason 2. The Abraham Accords betrayal. In 2020, UAE officially made peace with Israel. The Abraham Accords. For Iran, this was a deep betrayal, an Arab Muslim nation welcoming Israel with embassies and trade. When Iran had a chance to punish the UAE, they took it. Reason 3. Maximum economic plan. Dubai has the world's busiest international airport. Jebel Ali is one of the largest ports in the world, handling goods for billions across Asia, Africa, and Europe. Hit Dubai? Shockwaves across the entire global economy. Flights cancelled, ships rerouted, supply chains broken. Global panic is Iran's weapon when they can't match US military firepower. Reason 4. Destroying a symbol. Dubai is a proof that an Arab Muslim country can be wealthy and globally respected without following Iran's path. For Iran's leadership, Dubai's success is an ideological threat. It tells every Iranian there is another way to live. Iran wanted to shatter that image. Iran's 3-part counter strategy. Iran is not just fighting back in anger, they have a calculated counter strategy. Part 1. Close the Strait of Hormuz. 20% of the world's daily oil passes through a 33-kilometer strip of water. Iran has missile batteries right on the coast. Even the threat pushed oil to $100 a barrel. An actual closure? $150 to $200 and a global recession. Part 2. Rally the Arab Street. Iran's new supreme leader, Mojtaba Khamenei, the Sun, is broadcasting civilian casualty images to every Muslim country. The narrative? This is America attacking Islam, not stopping a nuclear program. Goal? Pressure Arab governments to distance themselves from the US. Part 3. Make the coast unbearable for America. 27 American military bases across the Middle East already struck. Goal? Not destroy them, but make American soldiers feel unsafe. Make the American public ask, why are we in this war? Iran saw how public pressure ended Vietnam, Iraq, Afghanistan. Same playbook. This isn't chaos. This is a country fighting for its survival with the only tools it has left. The Strait of Hormuz plus India plus the Black Rain warning. Let's talk about a number that has the entire world terrified. 20%. The Strait of Hormuz, 20% of the world's oil, 21 million barrels every single day passes through just 33 kilometers of water. Iran has now threatened to close it completely. Even a threat is equal to $100 a barrel. Actually, sustained closure, $200 a barrel, global economic crisis. And no country has more to lose from this than India. India's direct stakes? India imports 85% of its oil mostly from the Gulf. 8 million Indian workers in UAE, Saudi, and Kuwait and Bahrain sending $50 billion in remittances every year. Sahabar Port, India's strategic gateway to Central Asia, now in jeopardy. The Indian Ocean, India's claimed zone of influence, is now a war zone. The Modi-Nasser moment. February 26. Just 48 hours before the bombs fell, Modi was standing inside the Israeli parliament. He received a medal called India and Israel Natural Allies. 2 days later, Iran's supreme leader was dead and the Middle East was on fire. Israel's foreign minister clarified India was not briefed. The final decision was taken on the same Saturday morning, but to 90 million Iranians watching their country burn, it didn't look that way. The Iris Dana embarrassment. An Iranian warship that had just done joint naval exercises with India at Visakhapatnam was sailing home. A US submarine sank it 44 nautical miles off Sri Lanka. Modi had said, the Indian Navy is the guardian of the Indian Ocean. India said nothing. Now here's something that Indian news channels are almost completely ignoring, and it affects every single one of us, not in years but potentially in weeks. Israel bombed Tehran's oil infrastructure. Here's why that matters for India. Israeli airstrikes specifically targeted oil refineries and oil fields around Tehran and in the Khuzestan province, Iran's main oil belt. These weren't clean surgical strikes. Burning oil infrastructure releases massive clouds of black carbon, sulfur dioxide, and toxic particulate matter into the atmosphere. Scientists and climate monitors have already detected a significant aerosol plume moving eastwards from Iran. Black rain. What is it? When oil fields burn at massive scale like Iraq's oil fires in 1991, the soot and toxins mix with that moisture in the atmosphere. This creates black rain, dark, oily, toxic rainfall that can fall hundreds of kilometers away from the source. In 1991, black rain was Kuwait's oil fires was recorded as far away as Iran, Turkey, and parts of South Asia. This time, the burning is in Iran itself, closer to the Indian subcontinent. The Indian weather impact. What experts are warning. The aerosol clouds can disrupt normal monsoon moisture patterns over the Arabian Sea. India's southwest monsoon, which feeds agriculture for 60% of our farmers, is particularly sensitive to aerosol loading over the Arabian Sea. Early climate models suggest delayed monsoon onset, uneven rainfall distribution, and potential for acid rain in western India, especially Gujarat, Rajasthan, and the Maharashtra coast. This isn't speculation. The Kuwait 1991 oil fires visibly affected South Asian rainfall patterns that year. A war 2,000 kilometers away can alter your monsoon. That is how connected our world is. The inflation chain for India. Petrol, diesel, LPG prices rise immediately. Transport costs rise. Every vegetable, every product in every store gets more expensive. If monsoon is disrupted, agricultural output falls, food inflation spikes on top of fuel inflation. RBI faces a nightmare. Raise interest rates to fight inflation or keep them low to protect growth. Middle class EMIs, grocery bills, electricity all hit simultaneously. India's inflation chain. Iran oil fires, black rain risk, disrupted monsoon, food inflation, plus fuel inflation. Double squeeze on every Indian household. India is caught in an impossible triangle. Iran on one side, America and Israel on the other, and 8 million of its own citizens in the middle of a missile war. Experts call it strategic ambiguity. Critics call it strategic cowardice. Either way, India's silence has made everyone angry and satisfied absolutely no one. Iran's supreme leader killed. Son Mojtaba now in charge, vowing revenge. US strikes 5,000 plus targets hit across Iran. Iranian retaliation 27 plus US bases struck across the Middle East. Mosaic defense breached. Communication networks compromised. Ceasefire none. Iran demanding reparations before any talks. Iranian civilians 2,000 plus dead, 3.2 million displaced. Oil $100 or $120 per barrel and rising. Black carbon plumes moving eastward. India weather authorities monitoring. It's day 14 of this war. No ceasefire in sight. The closing lesson that history keeps trying to teach us: the Iraq war was supposed to be done in weeks. It lasted 20 years. Afghanistan, 2 decades. The 2006 Lebanon war, 33 days that reshaped the region. Operation Epic Fury launched with promises of surgical precision. G14, 2,000 dead civilians, a sunk warship, a burning Dubai, and a new supreme leader with nothing left to lose. In the 21st century, there is no such thing as someone else's war. Not when your oil comes from the Gulf. Not when 8 million Indians live there. Not when your monsoon can be disrupted by oil fires 2,000 kilometers away. Not when an AI system in Tel Aviv is deciding which facility gets bombed while your food prices are decided in a 33-kilometer stretch of water called the Strait of Hormuz. This is not a Middle East story. This is your story. Let me ask you something uncomfortable. India hasn't condemned the strikes. India hasn't supported Iran. India hasn't called for a ceasefire at the UN Security Council. India hasn't even issued a formal statement on the sinking of a warship that visited our own ports weeks ago. So the question here is India playing dumb or is India just playing chess? The case that India is playing chess. Here's what the Indian foreign policy establishments, the bureaucrats, the diplomats, the NSA would tell you if you got them in a room off the record. Move 1. India is quietly buying discounted Iranian oil. With Iran under fire and desperate for revenue, Iranian crude is being routed through Oman and Turkey at heavily discounted rates. India has been the world's most sophisticated buyer of sanctioned oil. It did it with Russia after 2022. It knows the playbook. While the world screams, India's refineries quietly process and partially offsets the $120 barrel pain with below market Iranian crude. Move 2. Chabahar is India's biggest quiet leverage. India has spent years and billions building Chabahar port in Iran, its strategic gateway to Afghanistan and Central Asia, bypassing Pakistan entirely. By staying silent, India protects Chabahar from becoming a casualty of the war, both literally and diplomatically. India's bet: whoever wins this war will still need Chabahar, and India will still be there, having offended nobody. Move 3. NSA Ajit Doval's back channel. India's National Security Advisor has a well documented history of operating in the shadows while the official position stays neutral. India's intelligence channel with both Iran and Israel have historically remained open, even when their public positions diverged. The silence at the podium does not mean silence in the room. India may be a quiet mediator positioning itself for when both sides eventually need a neutral back channel. Move 4. The Israel arms pipeline must not be disturbed. Israel is one of India's top 3 defense suppliers: drones, missile systems, and surveillance tech. With a hot war on, those defense contracts and technology transfers are more valuable than ever. India cannot afford to antagonize Israel publicly. And with the US, India's biggest trading partner and the country whose approval India needs for semiconductors, AI chips, and even green technology, public neutrality is the safest claim. India's strategic doctrine: never pick a side in someone else's war. Be useful to both, charge accordingly. The case that India is playing dumb and it will cost us. But here is the other side. And this is what the critics And quietly, some retired diplomats are saying, Problem 1, 8 million Indians are not a negotiating chip. They are human beings. India's silence has left 8 million Indians in the Gulf with zero clarity on evacuation plans, consulate support, or even government communication. Now compare this to 2006. Operation Sukoon evacuated 2,000 Indians from Lebanon in days. Where is that urgency now? Problem 2. Silence has an expiry date. Both sides are now openly asking the India to choose. The US has hinted that continued arms tech transfers depend on India's public posture. Iran's new supreme leader, Mojtaba, has reportedly sent a private message to Delhi. Neutral is not neutral when your prime minister was photographed with my father's killer 48 hours before the strike. Every day India stays silent, the cost of eventually speaking goes up. Problem 3. India's strategic autonomy has never been tested at this scale. India played the same card with Russia Ukraine, buying cheap Russian oil, staying out of condemnations. It worked because Europe needed India as a pressure point on Russia and America needed India for the China equation. But this time, the war is in India's own neighborhood. Indian Ocean, Indian diaspora, Indian food supply, the buffer zone is gone. Strategic ambiguity works when you're watching the fire from across the street. India's house is literally next door. So, what is India actually even planning? Based on what diplomats, defense analysts, and foreign policy insiders are reading between the lines, here is what India's actual play appears to be. Phase 1, right now. Stay out, buy time, and buy cheap oil. Let the US do the heavy lifting. Don't make enemies, keep supply chains moving through alternative routines. Phase 2, when ceasefire talk begins, enter as the neutral mediator. India has relationships with both sides, uniquely positioned to host or facilitate back-channel ceasefire conversations. Think of how India positioned itself during the Russia-Ukraine grain corridor talks. Quiet facilitation, maximum economic benefit, and zero potential cost. Phase 3, post-war. Claim the reconstruction prize. Iran will need to be rebuilt. Iranian oil infrastructure, ports, cities, all damaged. India's construction sector, engineering firms, and pharmaceutical exports are already positioned to be the first movers into a post war Iran. The country that then bombed Iran and then condemned Iran gets the first fall when the rebuilding contracts go out. Now, here's the most honest thing I can tell you about India's strategy right now: the silence is not accidental. There are very smart people in South Block in Delhi, in the Ministry of External Affairs, in the NSA's office, who are running scenarios right now. And that calculation is cold, calculated, and in a purely strategic sense, rational. The question is not whether India has a strategy. The real question is whether the strategy is big enough for the moment. Because right now, India is trying to be everywhere and being nowhere. We want Israel's drones and Iran's oils and America's chips and the Gulf's remittances, and for the moment we are even getting away with it. But wars have a way of forcing decisions that strategy books cannot prepare you for. And on the day that India is forced to choose, everything you just heard in this video will determine the cost of that choice. If this video helped you make sense of what's happening, share it with one person who's been asking, what exactly is going on in Iran? This is their answer. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Meanwhile, log in into 21x Academy and join the waitlist because the platform is going live soon for a global learning experience across sectors. Next, the Strait of Hormuz, the 33-kilometer passage that controls the world oil. Stay tuned for the next video.